It's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. And I have on a deck. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. And if you are brand new here, welcome. I'm Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid. Now, I just wanted to hop on really quick today and share a little bit of an experience of a change of heart that I had for a particular deck that I did an unboxing, it's a year, maybe a little bit more. It's a mass market deck. And I will link the original unboxing somewhere in the cards and definitely down below in the description box. But I remember seeing this deck on Amazon where you can still get it. You can also get it at a local bookstore. But I remember the initial pre-order for it on the Amazon listing, there wasn't any pictures listed. I don't know if there is now, but the description sounded really interesting. So I pre-ordered it and I filmed an unboxing for it. Now on my channel, there are a lot of unboxings. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm not one to trash a deck. I'm not one to trash artwork. I'm not one to trash writing. I have on occasion gotten a little persnickety about cardstock, not being, my cup of tea, but we're all, as tarot lovers and collectors, we all have our preferences, right? But I am not one to trash a deck because it's not my cup of tea. I realize what a wonderful achievement it is to put a beautiful piece of artwork and blood, sweat, and tears out into the world. It's a magnificent feat. And just because a deck isn't, my cup of tea, whether in tone or artwork or aesthetic, I'm not going to trash it because, again, what I may not like or love, somebody else's, and vice versa. We're not all the same, and that's what makes this big and beautiful world so interesting. Now, since January 26th, and I know because I have checked my tarot journal, and in my journal I tend to write down which decks I'm using and when I change, just because I like to see how they read, what kind of experience I've had with the decks. I like to go back and kind of check that out. But since January 26th, I've only used 2 decks. This one tarot deck that this video is about, that I've changed my mind about, and one oracle deck, which I'll also share with you. And I found that these 2 decks worked wonderfully together for me. So I have just been using these 2 decks from January 26th to now, this day that I'm filming this video, at least this portion of it, which is Easter Sunday. So those of you who celebrate Easter, happy Easter. Now, I just want to take this time to also note that I am very privileged to be able to have a really nice collection that kind of suits my tastes. But the reason for filming this video is to show that you really, again, don't need a lot of decks. You only need 1 or 2 decks that you really love to learn the tarot, to have profound experiences with the tarot. You don't need a large collection. Okay, enough with the dilly-dallying. We're gonna head on over to my table and I'm gonna share the decks that I've been using since the end of January. Oh, and before we head on over to the table, if you find any value to this video, please consider hitting a like, a subscribe, placing a comment down below, all of which helps this very small channel to grow. And for you, it also helps YouTube find videos that you like, if you like this sort of content, and it will place those videos in your feed. So, it's kind of a win-win situation. All right, over to the table. So here we are at the table, and I'm going to reveal the deck that I have had a change of heart about, that I've changed my mind about, and it is The True Heart Intuitive Tarot by Rachel True.
Hooray!
Yes. And also, let me show you the oracle that I chose to go along with this tarot deck. I chose the Queen of the Moon Oracle by Stacey DeMarco to work side by side with the True Heart Intuitive Tarot. As far as choosing an oracle deck to work with the True Heart Intuitive Tarot, I picked the Queen of the Moon Oracle by Stacey DeMarco for no other reason other than I remembered it had beautiful illustrations, that I had liked it, but it had been a while since I've worked with this deck, quite a while. And I picked it just because I wanted to give it some love. Now, choosing the True Heart Intuitive Tarot was different. I saw it on my bookshelf kind of beckoning to me when I was at this point where I wanted to switch out my decks. And it had called to me before, and I've just kind of had it step aside in order to work with something else that was more appealing to me, that was more my aesthetic. And I kept shooing this one aside. Now, when I just got this deck, I did work with it a little bit. And because of some of the reasons I mentioned in my initial unboxing, you know, the cardstock is not luxe by any stretch of the word. But it's not bad. It really isn't the worst cardstock I've ever held in my hands. But it isn't luxe. And then there was the artwork. Now, I appreciated the artwork, but again, it wasn't something that was totally my aesthetic. I thought it was adequate. But I didn't really think, quite honestly, that it was anything special to my taste, though I know a lot of people feel differently. But just, you know, I would hold it in my hands and I wouldn't get that, you know, that feeling that, oh my gosh, I have to work with it. I'm being called to work with it. Now, even through my unboxing, I knew from this set that the real standout for me was the book. And right off the bat, you know, just flipping through it and just kind of skimming through the pages, I knew the book was what was going to make this deck really, really special. So after passing over this deck, you know, to really deep dive with it and work with it, I heeded the call, and I am so glad that I did. Now, as I mentioned, even in my unboxing and skimming through this book, I knew that this book was going to be the standout for the set, and my opinion has not changed in that. In fact, reading the book cover to cover and working with it while I was, you know, doing my pulls, my daily pulls and some other readings, I love this book. I think it's one of, as far as integrating personal experience and the tarot, I think this is one of the best books written to go with, you know, a book and tarot set. Now, if you're a beginner, there is a lot of great introduction material to the tarot and you know, things that'll help you start using a tarot deck. If you are a beginner, there's lots of great things in here. Now, she has a lot of great spreads in this book. You know, there's the classic Celtic cross, there's the 3-card spread. Here you can see the 10-card relationship snapshot spread. Something I don't really need to use, but it's something very useful if you're, you know, in that situation where you want to know about a relationship, or something to use if you read for others. But I tended to use the True Heart Tarot 5-card insight spread. And it's just 5 cards. Position 1 is what do you desire? 2 is will you get it? 3 is this desire in alignment with your higher self? If attained, for card number 4, will this desire sustain? And card number 5, where your energy should be focused. And that was the card spread that I tended to use when I wanted to use a spread. But generally for my just everyday card pulls, I tend to pull 2 tarot cards and then I pull an oracle card just to kind of add some extra clarification, extra oomph, extra enlightenment. Now in this book, you will find that it is the majors where she goes in depth with her writing. And you see all the cards will get the high vibe, so that's equivalent, you know, upright position. Low vibe is what she'll call a reversal. And this is the Chariot, for example, and you see she gives you, you know, the general meaning, her interpretation of the Chariot card. And then she gives you the low vibe, so a reversal, as you will. But then what's really great is in the majors only, she will write a story, or she'll give you an experience of how, you know, this card, the energy of this card kind of played into her life. And sometimes the story will have the high vibe and the low vibe meanings of the card. And being an actor, she has truly some unique experience. Also, the fact that she is a biracial woman, biracial actress in Hollywood, especially at a time where, you know, there wasn't a lot of options, especially at the beginning of her career, for, you know, being a biracial woman and getting those prime plum parts. And oh, by the way, if I didn't mention, if you're unfamiliar, Rachel True, I think, is best known for her role in The Craft, that 90s movie, fantastic movie, and she was fantastic in it. The writing and story that stands out in particular for me is the Emperor, what she writes down for the Emperor. I've always had a problem with the Emperor archetype and the Emperor card in general. But the story she tells is her experience of working on the Cosby Show as a stand-in for Lisa Bonet. Without going into too much detail, the experience that she writes about and she correlates to the Emperor card revolves around Bill Cosby himself, showing attributes definitely of both a high vibe and the low vibe of the Emperor, and it is a really fascinating story. Something else that stood out in my brain was what she wrote for the Hierophant card. Again, another problematic card for me, especially if you know my background with Mormonism. And she was talking about how her father and stepmother announced that they were moving out of the more diverse East Village, you know, in New York, and relocating to upstate New York, where it's a lot more homogenous, especially at that time. And she recounted a sleepover that she was going to, and that she went to for a young girl who was part of a born-again Christian family. And she went to a sleepover one night, and she recalls that the girl says, "Don't you want to be up in heaven laughing at the heathens being burnt alive below?" And Rachel True said, "Sure." And she says, "Giddy superiority didn't sound very Christian to me, even at that young age, but I played along. I was an agnostic, hedging my bets." She clapped her hands enthusiastically, unable to contain her excitement. "It'll be like a party in heaven while everyone suffers below." I spent the next month wondering when Jesus was coming back on the Suffer Tour to set everyone on fire. Hopefully there'd be some kind of advance notice. He never came. Eventually I realized people can be led to believe just about anything. And that so echoes my feelings on Mormonism and organized religion in general. You know, these Christians who are supposed to tout love and who are supposed to adhere to the loving gospel of Jesus Christ, you know, really would like to see the heathens suffer and be burnt alive. You know, there's just something so crazy about that. And I found that I totally related to that. When you get on to the minors, you don't get those personal accounts, but you really do get her essence in the interpretation of the cards. You still get the high vibe, the low vibe, and you just get a page, you know, just one page, but you still get a lot of good content. And again, her experience, her essence, it just spills over, and it's just really a wonderful, wonderful read, and very fascinating. And of course, you know, from the unique perspective of somebody very artistic, very articulate, it's just a standout for one of these tarot book sets. Now, as far as the artwork, I have really come to love the backs and the front of this deck. You know, I was kind of ho-hum about the artwork, you know, but I don't know, something about what they say about familiarity breeds love or contempt. In this case, it really hedged me towards love, and I love the artwork of this deck because this deck has become so meaningful to me. I found that the artwork resonates with me more, and I love these backs. I love the colors. I love the earthy tones. I just love it. Again, the cardstock is not luxe. It's a mass market deck. It's not the worst I've ever felt in my hands, but it's not flimsy. It's not going to, I've been using this deck a lot, you know, since January. I mean, every day, practically every day. And it has held up just fine. And so the cardstock really isn't an issue, and I feel stupid for having brought it up in my initial unboxing. But you know, people want to know what cardstock is like, so I guess my opinions may be served in that way, but it's really not an issue to me. And in fact, I will tell you now that I have picked up a second copy of this deck because I love it so much, and I always want to have it in my collection. I did have some definite stalker cards in the amount of time that I worked with this deck. And I went through my journal and I pulled them out. And for a stalker card, for me, it's a card that I've gotten, well, I set a parameter of 5 times or more. So if you saw my last video, my last long-winded video, and I'll link it in the cards and the description below, for reasons that I go over in great detail in that video, I got the 9 of Swords a total of 11 times. And you know, the situation that was plaguing me at the time, and still does, but I got the 9 of Swords. And I think I was getting that because of that situation. The second stalker card I got was the Judgment card. And I got this a total of 5 times. And I think it was a combination of the judgment I was getting from this outside realm and the judgment I was placing on myself. The third stalker card I got was the Hermit card, and I got this a total of 13 times. And for me, that's not surprising because I definitely turned inward. I kind of shut off from social media, from my channel, because I needed to for various reasons. Again, I will refer you to the other video because I don't want this video to be too long. The next card that I deem as a stalker card, I got a total of 8 times, and it is the 8 of Discs. Now this corresponds with, and I mentioned in the other video, I think I mentioned it, that in the last 2 years, because I was working on, you know, cultivating this YouTube channel and this community, I had let another passion of mine kind of fall by the wayside, and that was sewing. Because I just, you know, they're kind of time consuming hobbies and activities, and I had a hard time finding the balance between the two. And I had this urge and this feeling to get back into sewing. And that was something I was starting to slowly do while I was away. And because there are so many skills that I want to learn in sewing, I have a long way to go. There's so many things I want to learn. I think that's why this card showed up, the Eight of Discs, you know, kind of the card of learning a craft. And I'm still very much learning how to sew, even though I've been at it for a few years. I think my skills had plateaued, and because I'm not being very brave with certain things and just kind of sticking with projects I'm comfortable with, I think this was a call to, you know, get off my butt and start pushing myself a little bit. And so I think that's why I got this card. The next card I got was the Nine of Cups, and I got this 7 times in the period that I was working with this deck. And basically, you know, with some of the not pleasant stuff I was dealing with in the past few months, my home life is really nice. I'm really enjoying being able to just spend time with my husband. Now that the kids, you know, I'm basically an empty nester, my husband and I have kind of rekindled a relationship that we had when we were dating and when we were young newlyweds, and it's really good, and it's a great blessing. And I think that's why this card has shown up so many times. And the last card I got, Stalker card, in this deck was the Two of Discs, and I got this a total of 6 times. And I think I already touched on the reason before when I mentioned the Eight of Discs and having a YouTube channel and letting my sewing hobby fall by the wayside. I got this because I decided I want to try to continue YouTube, but I really want to pick up my sewing, and it's kind of I think I need to find that balance. Because of my flighty Pisces nature, you know, now that I don't have to get up early anymore, now that I don't have to be somewhere every day, I'm kind of lax, and I'm kind of like really really sinking into my Piscean nature and kind of going with the flow, and kind of, you know, it's all good. If it's something I don't have to do, you know, I'm kind of like going with the flow more. But if I want to do these projects and have these goals, I'm going to need to find a balance. Now, the Queen of the Moon Oracle is such a beautiful deck, and I fell in love with this deck all over again, and I found that it worked really, really well with the True Heart Intuitive Tarot. Now, some people I know they have different ways of pairing their decks together, you know, their Oracle and their Tarot, or if you throw Lenormand in there. Some people go by aesthetics, some people go by maybe a subject matter. I just pulled this deck out purely because I felt I wanted to work with it again, because it had been a while. And as you can see, if you're not familiar with this deck is beautiful. But again, the writing in this book by Stacey DeMarco is stellar. And I found that the messages, I found that the cards that I pulled just perfectly corresponded with the tarot cards, just added that little extra insight, that little bit of clarification. If I was a little bit unsure, I would pull the Oracle card, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it now. And I did have a few stalkers in this deck as well. The first stalker I got in the Queen of the Moon Oracle, I got a total of 7 times. and it is blossoming, card 33, and it depicts the flower moon. And I think it came up so many times because I'm feeling, and I've mentioned I just hit a milestone birthday. I'm 55. I'm a senior citizen now. And I feel that I am changing, that I'm in a new phase of life. Obviously, I'm no longer a young woman. I'm no longer a young mother, but I feel that there's a new phase, a new energy going into my life. And I very much want to explore that, whatever it is, There's many different realms, whether it's continuing this YouTube channel, whether it's picking up my sewing and exploring other hobbies and interests that I have that I never really had time to explore before, whether it's, revamping my fashion and clothing choices, there's so many things. So I feel that's why I got this blossoming card. And the next Stalker card kind of reflects and piggybacks the blossoming card. I got the change card a total of 5 times. And again, I feel it's because there's changes going on in my life. This card, again, I even got this card with the 2 of discs. I remember a couple of times that I got this card with the 2 of discs. I drew them both together because I got this card a total of 10 times for reasons that I mentioned for the 2 of discs. The next Stalker card I got was a total of 5 times, and I got this gratitude card, the last quarter moon. And I thought this card would pop up at those times when, if I was feeling down, feeling frustrated, it was a good kick in the butt just to remember, I feel stupid for complaining about anything because I am a very fortunate person. And my life is far from perfect, but there is more good in it, way more good and way more positive than there is bad. And sometimes, if you're having a little pity party, and I definitely would from time to time, this was the good kick in the butt. And it's like, hey. And it's not that you're never allowed to feel down in the dumps. I'm not into feeling that false positivity all the time. I very much think it's not healthy to not acknowledge when you're feeling down or when you're feeling not quite right. You're supposed to give yourself time to feel that way. But there's a time to feel that way and allow yourself to feel those feelings, and then to be more proactive and do something about it and to get yourself out of that, that state of mind. And practicing gratitude, as we all know, is a wonderful way to do that. The next Stalker card I got was, I got this resilience card a total of 5 times, the waning gibbous. And sometimes I feel I'm pretty much a powder puff, and because of some of the things that have been going on lately, I felt that, I wish I could be someone who could just kind of flick, that stuff off my shoulder and not let it affect me as much as it did. But then I'm reminded of certain things that I've gone through in my life and that I've come through the other side when sometimes I didn't think I would. So this was a good reminder of that. All right, and the last Stalker card I got, maybe stalker is not a good, I'm just thinking stalker is not a good word to use. Maybe repeat card. I'm just thinking this as I'm ending, this part of the video. But okay, the last repeater card that I got was, I got it a total of 6 times, and it was the peace card. And sometimes when I was feeling kind of frazzled, I would get this card as a reminder to do activities, whether it was to meditate or to color, which is a hobby that I love and that can really, really quiet my mind. It was a reminder to do something, and doing certain activities would definitely definitely put me in a peaceful state of mind. So yeah, these were my not stalker cards. I'm going to say repeater cards. So all in all, I just had a really good experience with working with these two decks together. I'm now at a point that I think I'm ready to let these go and for now and pick something else to deep dive into. Only because it's like I could keep going with these decks. If these were like the only decks that I had, I would be totally fine to continue working with them. But I'm very fortunate that I do have a beautiful collection. It's not as big as maybe some may have, and it is probably bigger than others have, you know? We all have our parameters and different means, but if these were the only two decks that I had to work with, I would be completely happy because they work really well together. I had a beautiful experience working with both of these decks. So a 2 thumbs up for the True Heart Intuitive Tarot, and again a 2 thumbs up for this combination. All right, that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments below if you've had a similar experience with a deck in your collection. Was it something that you were just kind of, when you unboxed it, you were just kind of meh about, and then it was something after using it that you started to love? Let me know what deck that was in the comments below. And before I go, for real, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody who watched my long rambling video about why I was away from YouTube. Your support in the comments has been very much appreciated, and I am overwhelmed with gratitude by the love and support I've had, and I'm really surprised that so many of you were so encouraging that you would like to see this little channel continue, and I've decided that it will. My husband and I are looking into implementing safety measures. I've gotten some tips from people who know YouTube better than I do, and so we will be implementing those. And going forward, I think I'm going to diversify this channel quite a bit. You're going to continue to see deck unboxings, though they'll be a lot slower because I am slowing down my consumption. I'm not going on Kickstarter. I'm not really ordering and pre-ordering decks, but I still do have, as you saw in my last video, I have quite an accumulation of decks that have come in that I haven't opened, but I will unbox those. Going forward, I'm going to be very picky about what I bring in. Pretty soon it's going to be a point of, you know, if I want to bring anything in, something's going to have to go, because I do have my own set parameters of how much I want in my home. A lot of you have expressed interest that you would like some varied content regarding religion and regarding what it's like to age and what the certain experiences that come with that are like. Many of you have also expressed an interest in a little bit of fun fashion content and some coloring content. So we're going to do it all. And YouTube algorithm be damned. This is going to be not a niche down channel. It's going to have a little bit of everything. And YouTube algorithm be damned. I don't care if having so much varied content on this channel is going to keep, you know, my numbers small, because I'm going to be all over the place. It doesn't matter. There's going to be something for everybody, I hope. And that's going to be, I hope, more fun for me. I think it's going to be more fun for me, and especially more fun for you. So I'm really excited about this. So I'm going to leave you for now to let you get on with your beautiful day. Bye for now.